The scream came first. Not mine. Hers. And honestly, if you had told me at 8 a.m. that an HOA dispute would end with a woman shrieking like a raccoon caught in a recycling bin, I might have believed you. This was suburban America, after all. The hall was already buzzing when I arrived at the Westbridge Community Center. Rows of round tables shimmered with silver cloth under soft gold lighting, centerpieces glowing in glass jars like bottled fireflies. The annual New Year banquet, hosted by the ever-dramatic Westbridge HOA, was supposed to be a night of celebration, award announcements, community spirit, and free chicken parmesan. But nothing that involved Karen ever stayed peaceful for long. I had barely set down my coat when I saw her marching toward me in those sharp, clacking heels that could probably slice through drywall. Her blonde bob swung with purpose, her lips pinched so tightly they could have cracked a walnut. And in her hand, she clutched a clipboard like it was the Constitution itself. "You're in violation," she stated, not even bothering with hello. Karen never wasted time on human niceties. I blinked. "Good evening to you too, Karen." She jabbed a perfectly French manicured finger toward the stage area, where a long row of chairs had been arranged for award nominees. Among them was my name card, Michael Rivers. The night had a simple plan. I sit, they announce winners. We clap, we eat, we go home. Easy. "You were assigned table 12, she huffed. "Not a front row chair." I raised my eyebrows. "I'm a nominee." She sniffed. "For a minor award. That section is for primary contributors only. I don't see your name on my official list." I took a breath. I turned in the volunteer hours form myself. The board approved it. I got the email. Karen flipped through her clipboard with theatrical exasperation. "Well, I didn't approve it." I almost laughed. "You're not the entire board." "You'd be surprised," she said, chin lifting with the arrogance of someone who once called 911 on a teen for selling lemonade without a permit. Laughter bubbled in my throat, but refused to come out. Because behind Karen, two other HOA members, Bill and Cynthia, were watching. Not helping, just observing, like this was poorly written dinner theater. Karen stepped in closer. "Your seat is revoked. I'll be confiscating it." "Confiscating?" I repeated. "Karen, it's not a weapon." "I'll decide what it is," she snapped. And just like that, with the speed of someone stealing silverware at a buffet, she grabbed the chair by its back and yanked. I held on to the other side. "Karen, don't. Let go. It's my seat." "No, it isn't," she spat. "Not anymore." A hush fell across the room as she began dragging the chair like a triumphant pirate hauling treasure. Guests stared. A few chuckled. Someone whispered, "Here we go again." She marched toward the corner of the hall, heels clicking violently against the wooden floor, clutching my chair as though she were returning stolen goods to law enforcement. I followed, partly to reclaim my property, partly because I needed to understand how a woman could declare eminent domain over banquet seating. She slammed the chair down beside the coat rack and planted her hands on her hips. "This is where confiscated items go. Karen, it's a chair, not contraband." Her eyes narrowed. "Michael, you're being hostile." I inhaled deeply and counted to 3 for the sake of my blood pressure. "I'm just trying to take my seat at an event that literally sent me an invitation." "Then you should have followed protocol." She lifted her chin triumphantly. "And now you've forced me to take action." I looked at her, at the chair behind her, and at the growing audience gathering like spectators around a street magician. "What action?" I asked. Before she could answer, a man stepped forward from the crowd. Mr. Baldwin, the head of the HOA board. He was holding a tablet, brows raised in confusion. "Karen," he said, "why are you removing nominee chairs?" Karen straightened proudly. "Because I'm enforcing regulations. Michael Rivers falsified his volunteer hours. I'm revoking his seating privileges." The crowd murmured. Someone gasped. Someone else whispered, "She's really doing it again." My stomach dropped. "What? I didn't falsify anything. You saw me clean the community garden tools myself, Baldwin." "I did," he nodded. "And your form is on record." Karen's face froze. "Actually," he added, scrolling on the tablet, "you logged extra hours. More than required." The room shifted. Karen blinked, momentarily stunned. I allowed myself one small victorious breath. But Karen recovered fast. She always did. Well, then he filled it out incorrectly. And that's still a violation." "No," Baldwin said flatly. "It isn't." He looked at her chair-thieving stance and sighed. "Karen, Why are you always escalating things? She opened her mouth, closed it, then gestured wildly at me. Because he talks back. He always talks back. He undermines authority. Authority? I echoed. You don't run the town. You barely run the newsletter. Gasps erupted. A woman near the dessert table whispered, "Oh Lord, he went there." Karen turned beet red. "I am the elected standards coordinator." "That's not a real title," I said. She sputtered. It absolutely is." "Karen," Baldwin sighed. "We removed that role last year." That silence that followed could have frozen fire. Karen looked around frantically. "No, you didn't." "We did," said Cynthia, stepping forward. "We just didn't want to tell you because—" "Well," Bill finished the sentence, "because we hoped you'd stop telling people they weren't allowed to put up Halloween decorations before October 15th. I swear the air around Karen vibrated. Her voice trembled not with fear, but indignation. "So you're all conspiring against me?" "No," Baldwin said. "We're asking you to stop policing everyone." She clenched her fists. "Michael provoked me." I blinked. I literally walked in and said hello. "That was sarcasm," she hissed. Someone snorted. Karen whipped around, pointing at the crowd like a prosecutor. "You're all witnesses. He undermined the chain of command." "Karen," Cynthia said gently, "there is no chain of command." And that was it. Something snapped inside her like a rubber band stretched too far. She stomped back toward the confiscated chair, grabbed it again, and stormed toward the exit. "I'm taking this," she declared, as evidence. "For what trial?" I asked. She ignored me, threw open the door, and marched into the winter night with my chair clutched to her side like a shiny metal hostage. The door slammed behind her, so hard one of the centerpieces flickered. The room erupted in whispers. Baldwin pinched the bridge of his nose. "I'll go talk to her." "No," Cynthia said. "Let her calm down. Give her 5 minutes." But she didn't need 5 minutes. Because 40 seconds later, we heard it. A crash, a shriek, and then a muttered, "Oh my God, is she okay?" from someone near the window. We rushed outside, and what we saw froze us where we stood. Karen, in the parking lot, standing beside my chair now toppled and trying desperately to wedge it into the trunk of her Lexus. Except the trunk was too full. Of what? HOA paperwork. Binders. Clipboards. Stacks of printed regulations thicker than legal textbooks. She hissed in frustration and kicked the chair. Then she noticed us. "This," she announced dramatically, "is all because of him." The spotlight from the hall doorway illuminated her like an actor on a stage. Snow dusted the lot around her. The cold bit at our skin. "What exactly are you doing?" Baldwin asked. Karen pointed at me with vindictive triumph. "He assaulted me." Every jaw dropped. I choked. "What? When? How?" "When you grabbed the chair," she exclaimed. "You pulled it. I could have been injured." "I touched the chair," I said slowly. "That you were stealing." "Confiscating," she barked. Cynthia stepped forward, calm as a therapist. "Karen, sweetheart, no one here saw him assault you." Karen looked around. "You're all lying." "Protecting him," someone muttered. "Here we go again." Then, in a moment so surreal it could have been written by a playwright, Karen reached into her coat pocket and pulled out her phone. She started recording, on full volume. "One day," she announced, "the authorities will thank me for this documentation." She turned the camera to me. "State your name for the record." I crossed my arms. "No, refusing to cooperate," she narrated. "Suspicious behavior." I looked at the crowd, at their exhausted expressions, and something inside me hardened. This wasn't just Karen being Karen. This was Karen rewriting reality in real time. "Karen," I said slowly, "you're not the victim here." She stopped recording long enough to scoff. "Of course I am. Look at what you've done. You've humiliated me." "You humiliated yourself," I said. Gasps. Her eyes flared wide. "How dare you speak to me that way? You tried to publicly shame me for something I didn't do." I continued, feeling heat rise in my chest. "You stole my seat. You accused me of falsifying hours. You dragged a chair through a banquet hall like a gremlin stealing Christmas presents." A snort of laughter erupted from somewhere in the group. Karen turned, scanning faces for loyalty, but for once, no one stepped forward. She wrapped her arms around herself, trembling not from cold, but from rage. "This isn't over," she whispered. "It will never be over." Baldwin sighed. "Karen," she cut him off by lifting her phone again. "I'll submit a formal grievance." You can, he said gently, but it will go to the board. I am the board. No, he said softly, you're not. And those 3 words cracked something in her expression, something brittle, fragile, long protected by ego and bluster. For the first time, Karen looked lost, but only for a second. Then she snapped back into fury, shoved the chair toward me so hard it clattered against the pavement, and stormed to her car. She peeled out of the parking lot like a villain in a low-budget action movie. We all stood there in stunned silence. Then Baldwin turned to me. Michael, he said with a tired smile, you still want your seat back? I looked down at the chair, cold metal, slightly bent from the struggle, but intact. Yeah, I said. I think I earned it. As we walked back toward the hall, I couldn't shake the feeling that this wasn't over. Not by a long shot. Because Karen wasn't the type to retreat. She was the type to reload. Back inside the hall, the warmth hit us like a wave, melting the sting of winter air from our faces. Music hummed softly through the speakers, now gentle jazz, the kind meant to calm nerves and cover tension. But it wasn't working. Not for me. Not for the dozens of guests whispering in clusters as we re-entered. The room felt different, like everyone had witnessed something they couldn't quite process. Bill leaned toward me. You okay, kid? I nodded, even though I wasn't entirely sure. Yeah, just. Didn't expect her to go nuclear. She always does, he muttered. But this time felt worse. Cynthia pulled up beside us, clutching her cup of hot cider. She's spiraling. I've never seen her this wound up. I glanced at the banquet stage. My chair, me once confiscated, nearly kidnapped chair, was still lying awkwardly on its side near the front row, waiting to be reclaimed like a lost dog. I should put that back, I said. I'll help you, Baldwin offered. As we approached the row of chairs, dozens of eyes followed us, curious, sympathetic, some amused. I lifted the chair, the metal cool but familiar beneath my fingers. The legs were slightly scraped from Karen's dramatic exit, but otherwise intact. I set it down in its rightful place. A small ripple of applause broke out from a few tables. I turned, startled. You don't have to clap. We're clapping for the chair, someone said with a grin. I sighed. This night was becoming surreal. But deep down, a knot sat lodged in my stomach. Because I knew Karen. And I knew she would not simply disappear into the snowy night and nurse her wounded pride in silence. She was probably already plotting something. Baldwin lowered his voice. Listen, if anything happens, come find me. Anything like what? I asked. He hesitated. Karen doesn't lose gracefully. She's vindictive. Yeah, I said. I'm starting to get that impression. He patted my shoulder and walked off as the lights dimmed slightly for the program to begin. The McCann energetic man named Trevor bounded onto the stage and tapped the mic. Good evening, Westbridge. I hope everyone's enjoying the banquet so far. Polite cheers echoed through the room. Trevor smiled brightly. All right. First up, our community volunteer recognitions. He gestured for nominees to take their seats in the front row. I sat down in my reclaimed chair, a faint sense of triumph warming my chest. The lights brightened. The projector flickered to life behind the stage. One by one, names and photos appeared. Trevor was halfway through announcing the first honoree when the hall's side doors suddenly slammed open. A gust of icy wind whooshed in, and there she stood, Karen. Her cheeks were flushed, hair windswept from her dramatic exit 20 minutes ago. Snowflakes clung to her coat. Her eyes burned with something between fury and righteousness, an expression I had come to recognize on her face countless times, but never this intense. Groans rippled across the hall. Oh no, someone whispered. She came back, another muttered. We're doomed. She stomped inside, letting the door swing shut behind her. Her heels echoed across the wooden floor like war drums. Trevor froze mid-sentence. Welcome back, Karen. She didn't acknowledge him. Instead, she marched straight to the front. Straight toward me. Oh God, I murmured under my breath. She stopped inches from my seat, breathing heavily. You think you won. I blinked. Karen, no. She raised a trembling finger. Don't you dare interrupt me. The hall fell into suffocating silence. I went home, she said, voice quivering, and I pulled my original documentation. And guess what I found? No one spoke. She reached into her coat and dramatically whipped out a folder thick enough to concuss someone. These, she proclaimed, waving it like a holy scripture, are my personal archives of volunteer regulation amendments. Every one from the last 8 years. Baldwin groaned softly. Karen, she cut him off. And guess what? The board does allow revocation of special seating privileges for noncompliance. Karen, Cynthia said gently. That clause was removed 4 years ago. No, it wasn't. Karen snapped. You said you removed it. But your paperwork doesn't match MY paperwork. Because we updated ours, Cynthia replied. Well, Karen said, lifting her chin, I didn't approve that update. That's not how a majority vote works, Baldwin said tiredly. And that, Karen boomed, is the problem with this corrupt system. Gasps and whispers spread like wildfire. Trevor tried to step in. Karen, maybe we can, no, she barked. Not until justice is served. She turned toward the crowd, projecting her voice like a politician mid-meltdown. For years, I have upheld the standards of this community. I have enforced the rules when no one else would. And now? Now, I am being punished for trying to protect the integrity of this event. Someone in the back whispered, she's lost it. Karen whirled toward the sound. I heard that. She was unraveling, right in front of us. And she didn't care who saw. Then she faced me again. You humiliated me out there, she hissed. You made me look ridiculous. I didn't have to make you look that way, I said before I could stop myself. The crowd erupted with stifled laughter. Karen's face twisted. You want to be clever? You want to play the hero? Fine. Then answer this. Why is your volunteer form missing a signature? My stomach dropped. It isn't. It is according to MY copy. Because your copy is ancient, Cynthia said. The form changed 2 years ago. Karen ignored her. She stepped closer to me, her voice low enough that only the front row could hear. You are not special, she whispered. You are not important. You are a minor award nominee who thinks he's above the rules. My jaw tightened. Karen, I said, this is a banquet, not a military tribunal. She leaned in further. And you will apologize to me. For what? For disrespecting my authority. I stared at her, incredulous. You don't have authority. Dead silence. Karen blinked slowly. And then, with a rigid smile and a trembling hand, she lifted her phone. Fine, she said. If you won't apologize willingly, then I will make you. I frowned. Make me. She hit record. Everyone, she announced loudly. I am initiating a formal verbal reprimand procedure. Baldwin threw his hands in the air. That is not a thing. Karen ignored him. She shoved the phone toward my face. State your apology. No, non-compliance noted, she narrated. Escalating level. What level? I asked. Level 2. What is that? She grabbed my chair. Not again. Karen, Baldwin shouted. But she was already pulling yanking trying to drag the chair out from under me like some deranged magician performing a failed trick. I stood instantly to avoid falling. Give me the chair, she said through clenched teeth. No, I said. It's evidence. For what? I demanded. For your misconduct. For sitting. For insubordination. I stared at her, baffled. This isn't the military. It should be, she growled. And before anyone could intervene, she threw the chair. Not at me, thankfully, but across the stage. It clattered loudly, nearly hitting the podium. A collective gasp shot through the hall. Trevor dropped his cue cards. Someone screamed. Karen stood there, chest heaving, eyes wild. Then she said the words that shifted the entire night from chaos into legend. If I can't have control, then no one can. And with that, she strode toward the stage, grabbed the main microphone, and shouted into it, the awards are canceled. Boos exploded instantly. Trevor lunged toward her. Karen, stop it. She held the mic like a shield. I am protecting this community. No, I said quietly. You're destroying it. She froze, mic halfway raised. Slowly, she turned to face me. What did you say? You heard me. I said. This isn't about the community. It's about you. Your pride. Your control. Your need to be the most feared person in the room. Her jaw clenched. You don't know anything about me, she whispered. Then tell me. I said. Tell all of us. Why do you do this? Why do you turn everything into a war? The room fell eerily silent. Karen stared at me, her expression flickering with something almost human beneath the rage hurt. Insecurity, something fragile, trying desperately not to show. For one moment, I thought she'd answer honestly. But the moment shattered. She gripped the mic and shouted, I will not be spoken to like that by some nobody. The audience booed louder. Someone yelled, Sit down, Karen. Another shouted. Let the banquet continue. A third voice. You threw a chair? Go home. The noise swelled, echoing off the walls. Karen trembled not with fear, but indignation. Her hands shook around the microphone. This is harassment, she shrieked. All of you, all witnesses. He provoked me. He started this. No, Baldwin finally said, stepping up beside me. Karen, tonight you crossed a line. Her eyes darted between me, Baldwin, the crowd. Fine, she hissed. If this community doesn't respect me, then I don't want it. And she dropped the mic. It hit the stage with a deafening clang. Karen stormed out of the hall for the second time that night. This time, no one followed her. Not even out of concern. We all just stood there, stunned, breathless, caught between disbelief and relief. Trevor swallowed hard, picked up the mic, and tapped it twice. He said awkwardly, so, who's ready for dessert? The audience erupted in laughter, relieved, exhausted, cathartic. I exhaled slowly, trying to let the tension drain from my body. But I couldn't shake the feeling in my gut, because that wasn't the end. Karen wasn't gone. Karen was regrouping, and whatever she planned next, it would hit like a storm. The banquet resumed, but no one was really listening to Trevor's cheerful jokes or the upbeat music he cued to fill the awkwardness. People pretended to eat, but eyes kept drifting toward the hall entrance, half expecting Karen to burst in again like an angry weather system. I sat in my reclaimed chair, muscles still buzzing with adrenaline. A strange mix of relief and unease washed through me. The storm had passed, but Karen never left quietly. She retreated only to gather fuel, and she would return with fire. After the volunteer awards were finally announced, yes, I won for outstanding community support. Though the applause sounded more like congratulations on surviving Karen, the banquet shifted into dessert and mingling time. Chocolate eclairs were being devoured like stress medication. Clusters of residents shared whispered theories about Karen's meltdown. Bill approached me with a plate of miniature cheesecakes balancing in one large hand. You did good, kid. Real good. I didn't do anything but exist, I said. Yes, he nodded. And around Karen, that's a crime. Cynthia drifted over. You know she's going to file some absurd complaint, right? Probably several, I said. Baldwin joined us, rubbing the tension out of his temples. Already got 3 emails from her. She claims you verbally attacked her, physically threatened her with a chair, and orchestrated a smear campaign. I laughed. A smear campaign? Against what are delusions? He gave me a sympathetic smile. We're used to her dramatics, but tonight crossed a line. I'm scheduling an emergency board meeting tomorrow. And what happens then? I asked. Well, Cynthia said gently, we discuss consequences. Real consequences this time, Baldwin added. Something in his tone made me hopeful, but only briefly, because a sudden shrill chime pierced the air. My phone. I glanced down. Unknown number. Then it rang again, and again, and again. The 6th ring made my skin crawl. Cynthia peered at my screen. Who was that? I answered reluctantly. Hello. A voice crisp, icy, trembling with suppressed rage slid through the speaker. Michael Rivers. My heart sank. Karen, you think this is over? I think it should be, I said. She exhaled sharply, a sound like a predator sizing up prey. Check your email. The line went dead. I opened my inbox. And there it was. Subject line. Official notice of community misconduct level 4. I groaned. Level 4? What does that even mean? She said she escalated me to level 2 earlier, like she's running a video game. Baldwin took my phone. Let me see. He read the email, his eyebrows climbing higher with every sentence. This is nonsense. Pure nonsense. She cites bylaws that haven't existed in years, rules she wrote herself, and threatens to revoke your HOA membership. She can't do that, Cynthia said. She can't do any of this, Baldwin replied. I'll handle it. But the uneasy knot in my stomach twisted tighter, because handling Karen was never simple. Reasoning with her was like reasoning with a tornado. I didn't know how right I was until the next morning. The fallout begins. I woke to a barrage of notifications. 63 emails, 14 voicemails, a dozen missed calls, and a text from my neighbor. Anna, you need to come outside. Now. I threw on a coat and stepped onto my porch and froze. There, planted directly on my front lawn, was a massive wooden sign with sloppy, furious handwriting. Community threat under investigation beneath it, my name. My jaw nearly hit the ground. She did not. Neighbors peeked from windows. Some approached, cautiously sympathetic. Anna crossed the street. Michael, she was here at dawn hammering that thing into your lawn. She said she had board approval. She absolutely did not, I said, shocked into a whisper. As if summoned by rage, my phone rang. Baldwin. Michael, he said breathlessly, I'm so sorry. She showed up at the HOA office before sunrise. She forced the intern to print signs. She's on the warpath. She put a sign on my lawn, I said. He swore. Stay put. I'm calling an emergency board meeting in 1 hour. Good, I said. Because this is harassment. And it gets worse, Baldwin added. How? I asked. She sent a newsletter blast to the whole community. I swallowed. What did it say? He cleared his throat. It accuses you of endangering the moral structure of Westbridge, violating banquet decorum, and instigating a hostile takeover of the awards ceremony. I stared at the sign in disbelief. A hostile takeover? Did she forget Esichi through the chair? She also attached a picture of the chair. Why? To claim it was damaged during your violent altercation. I pinched the bridge of my nose. Baldwin, I'm going to lose my mind. Not yet, he said. Give us a chance to handle her. But fate had other plans. Because at that moment, Karen herself turned the corner, marching down the sidewalk with the determination of someone who believed the universe had personally wronged her. Her coat was buttoned tight. Her chin was lifted high. Her arms were crossed as if protecting her delusions from the cold. She stopped at the edge of my lawn. You, she said. I folded my arms. Good morning, Karen. That remains to be determined, she replied. I stared at her. What do you want? She gestured toward the sign. Community safety. That's not safety, I said. That's libel. You brought this on yourself, she insisted. Your behavior last night violated no fewer than 9 community guidelines. There aren't 9 guidelines about banquet chairs. There were, she said stiffly, until the board secretly removed them. Because they weren't real. She stiffened. Everything I wrote was real. That's not how bylaws work, I said. Her jaw clenched. I gave this community order. No, I said. You gave it fear. Her eyes flashed. You think you're some kind of hero? You think embarrassing me in front of everyone makes you powerful? I don't want power, I said. I want peace. Peace, she whispered, comes through control. And that's why you're losing it, I said. Her face reddened. You haven't seen losing. She took one step closer. I am filing a motion today to have you removed from HOA membership and barred from community events. You can't do that, I said. We'll see, she said coldly. Then she turned on her heel and marched away. I stood there, staring after her, stunned. Anna approached quietly. She's unhinged. I know. And the worst part? She wasn't done yet. The emergency board meeting held in the community hall, was the most crowded one in years. People poured in, drawn by equal parts concern and entertainment. Karen sat at the front, arms folded, surrounded by stacks of binders like a fortress. Her expression was carved from stone. Baldwin cleared his throat. We are here to address last night's events and the actions taken afterward. Karen interrupted immediately. Excellent. Let's begin with Michael's violations. A chorus of groans moved across the room. Baldwin continued, ignoring her. First, Karen, you unilaterally placed a sign on a resident's lawn without approval. She sniffed. It was necessary. It wasn't, Baldwin said. It violates at least 6 HOA rules. She blinked. What? Which ones? Cynthia lifted a stack of papers. All of these. Karen stared at the pages like they were written in another language. And, Baldwin added, you forged an email using the HOA header to send a newsletter blast. I was acting in the community's best interest, she snapped. You don't get to decide that alone, Baldwin replied. Karen's mouth twitched. Someone has to. And finally, he said, you threw a chair at a public event. It wasn't at anyone, she argued. It was beside them. A man in the audience muttered. Oh, that makes it fine then. Laughter broke out. Karen's eyes flashed. This is not a joke. No, Baldwin said firmly. It isn't. Which is why the board is voting today. Karen straightened, confidence returning. Good. Let's vote on removing Michael from the community. No, Baldwin said. We're voting on removing you. Gasps. Karen froze. What? She whispered. You have abused your position, Cynthia said gently. Repeatedly. For years. I kept order. Karen said weakly. You terrorized people, Bill corrected. Voices rose around the room. She fined my kid for chalk drawings. She banned wreaths. She measured grass with a ruler. She tried to confiscate my bird feeder. She called my daughter's Halloween costume a threat to standards. Karen spun in her chair, horror dawning across her face. You're all lying, she said frantically. You're twisting things. I was helping you. No, Baldwin said quietly. You were controlling us. Karen slammed her hands on the table. I will not be removed. It's not your decision, Baldwin said. The vote was swift. 7 hands rose for removal. 1 abstention. Karen's hand was the only one against. She stood, trembling violently. This is betrayal. Karen, Cynthia said softly. You need help. Karen swallowed hard. No, I need respect. You had it, Baldwin said. Until you demanded it. Her face crumpled, briefly, like a crack in her armor. Then she grabbed her papers, her towers of binders, her fortress of fabricated rules, and stuffed them violently into her bag. You people deserve chaos, she spit. And you'll get it. She stormed out. This time, no one was afraid she'd come back. We were afraid of what she would do next. The final move for 3 days. The neighborhood buzzed like a hive knocked off a tree. Rumors flew. Karen was contacting lawyers. Karen was appealing to the state HOA association. Karen was threatening local news channels. Karen had printed flyers calling herself a wrongfully dethroned community hero. But on the 4th day, everything changed. The sun was setting when Baldwin knocked on my door, holding a thin envelope. She sent something, he said. I hesitated before opening it. Inside was a handwritten note, surprisingly neat. You didn't defeat me. You revealed me. And now I have nothing left to hide behind. Don't celebrate this. There is no victory here. Only truth. Karen, I stared at the letter. It's almost sad, I said. Baldwin nodded. We filed a formal restraining and removal order today. She's banned from holding any position and can't attend events until further review. Do you think she'll comply? He exhaled. I think she's tired, Michael. For the first time. And he was right. Because, over the next few weeks, Karen faded from community life like a storm losing power. No more emails. No more rants. No more rules scribbled on sticky notes plastered around the neighborhood. She became quiet, not defeated, just empty. And strangely, that felt more tragic than anything she'd thrown at me. The ending spring thawed the last traces of winter. Flowers bloomed. The community breathed easier. One morning, I found another envelope on my porch, small, light, but heavy with something indescribable. Inside was a photo. A picture someone at the banquet must have taken that night. Karen, mid-argument, eyes blazing, clutching the confiscated chair like it was the last scrap of her identity. And written on the back in shaky handwriting. I finally understand the chair was never the problem. I was. Be better than me. I sat on the porch for a long time, holding that photo, letting the spring air wrap around me. The community never fully forgot the night Karen imploded, but we healed. And somehow, so did she, in her own distant, quiet way. And I learned something too. Sometimes, standing up for yourself doesn't end in triumph. Sometimes it ends in bittersweet truth. Sometimes it ends with someone finally seeing themselves clearly for the first time. Karen didn't get her victory. She didn't get her control. She didn't get her revenge. She got something harder. Accountability. And in the end, maybe that was the real story all along. The night she tried to seize my banquet chair was never about the chair. It was about the moment everything she built on fear finally collapsed and something human finally emerged. Even if only for a moment. Thank you for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe to stay updated with the latest videos.